Hello and welcome to the Extra Mile podcast, where I, Jack Chauncey, will be bringing you clean and unbiased information by interviewing people that show love and dedication in everything they do. Hope y'all enjoy. Let's get into it.
Do a little introduction, or
Yeah, I believe the first question was introducing you.
my name's Levi Greer. I ran with you in cross country, and I did that all throughout high school, a little bit starting in middle school, and that was kind of the extent of my running career. But it kind of ended when I got that injury at the tail end, or beginning of track season of senior year, tail end of senior year, and I haven't really run much of the summer. I've been traveling, and I was coming off that injury, so I plan to get back into it a little bit, maybe do some like hybrid training, because I've really picked up more on the gym than anything else.
Yeah. So you, what I've always something I've always been too scared to do was do more in the gym stuff because I was always, worried about how that would affect my running.
Yeah.
But you kind of show that you can do both. I mean, you can be a hybrid athlete for sure.
Yeah.
And so that's really impressive to me that you can do a lot in the gym and you can still do amazing times running.
Yeah, I'd actually say, before I got the injury, I had like 2 or 3 races that I did during senior year track season. And I had been in the gym since August. And so track season started like February or March or so.
Yeah.
And my event was like the 800. That was kind of the thing that I focused on. And I think a lot of that, like your fastest at the finish kind of movement, your cadence ability is I fully could like give that to the fact that I was doing like strength training. And so that really like gave me the power to push through on the finish line, even though like my legs are dead, but still having that cadence to fly through the finish.
Right. Having that little extra.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So, everyone has that story of, this is why I started. This is the thing that switched me over from doing this to this, and I want to know what that story is for you.
Okay, so it's actually kind of a funny story. So before I did running, I didn't do anything else. At the time it was early elementary, and I was at a private school in Tupelo called Heritage Academy, and they had this like big event, and it was kind of just like an overall. They had they had running events, they had like 3-on-3 basketball, they had all these different sports, all these different academic competitions. And I had signed up for the 200-meter race. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
I have never run prior to this other than like running around on the playground at church, and people would be like, "Oh, he's really fast." And I was like, "You're right, I am really fast."
Of course.
And
then you talk about your shoes and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And then I had, I was also like, at the time, I was like, I want to be a superhero when I grow up. So what's the 2 most logical things that are actually feasible? And I was like, well, I can either be the Flash if I train hard enough, or I can be Iron Man if I'm smart enough. So that was kind of where I was. And I was like, what if I just do both? And so I signed up to do this 200-meter race, and the guy I raced, also not in shape for the 200-meter dash. And I think I might have been, I definitely had the upper hand as far as that race was concerned. But at the time, like I went out, I race it and I win, and I'm like, this is the sport for me.
Right.
I am the Flash. And so I'm like, I'm going to do this for the rest of my life. And so so when I was in that private school, that's what I did. And then I didn't race much after that until it was, we started homeschooling. My family started homeschooling, and we heard about the Tupelo Spartans.
Right.
And so at the time, Coach Hugh Hardy was the one over it, and I joined the cross country team. My dad was like, "Hey, they have a cross country team," and I was like, "What's cross country?" He's like, "That's running." And I was like, "Hey, sign me up. I'm fast." Little did I know that A 5K and a 200-meter dash are very different. And I was not in shape for either, but much less the 5K. And so I signed up for cross country, and I raced and I was like, my first 5K, I think, was like 57 minutes or something. Like, it was awful. I'm pretty sure I walked it and maybe ran 0.1 total. But I was like, well, I've signed up now and I'm not going to quit. So this is life at this point. So that was my training. And that was kind of how I started. And like I said, that was with Coach Hugh at the time. And that was kind of my foundation for running. And I was like, I couldn't even run varsity at the time. This was like 5th grade. Yeah. So I ran the fitness team. And then when 6th grade came around, I joined the JV team. I joined the junior varsity team and started running like 2-mile races.
Yeah.
So that was kind of the start of how I got into running. Yeah, it's like I said, it's kind of a funny story, all because I beat this one like kind of chunky kid in a 200 dash, and I was like, this is it. I am speed, literally. Sonic, let's race.
Yeah, I know.
Like, that was the mentality I had.
Like, those were the inspirations for every child in the late 2000s.
Yeah.
It's like Sonic, Flash. I mean, like, everybody just loved him.
Turbo. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that's great. That's, I always love hearing those stories because it like shows, change and just, I mean, really just like starting and finishing just shows like a big, life, like, I mean, like, section of life that just changed throughout. And
the chapters of life.
Exactly.
How it progresses.
Exactly. It's very good. Very good. So, we have these moments in our lives that are, I like to call sticky moments. Mm-hmm. So it's like, something that maybe not even at the time you realize, but like down the road you realize, man, that was like either a turning point in my life, or that's just like a moment in my life that I'm never going to forget. Yeah. So is there something that like really stuck with you throughout your whole running career?
Okay, so there's one moment attributed to this idea, but I'm going to start with the idea, and that idea is persistence. Right. And so with endurance running, like I mentioned earlier, like, you find out really quickly that you can't just be like really fast at the beginning of a race and then expect to do really well. Right. When I started running, like I told you, my beginning of my running career was based out of that 200-meter dash that I did. 200-meter dash is not long at all. Right. In fact, since I started like actually running, I've never run the 200 again because it's so short. And so when I started doing like actual endurance running, like started running 5Ks, I started by like, I would do the first 200 meters, and as soon as I was out of eyesight, I was dead. Like, I started walking. Like, I remember vividly at like Choctaw Trails down in South Mississippi that you like come around that first corner. Yeah. And like, I was like, as soon as I got around that corner, I was walking. Like, everybody, I might be 3rd place by that point, but like, give it 3 seconds after that and I'm back dead last because everyone's done past me.
Yeah. Well, the thing with Choctaw Trails is like there's a hill right there too. So
it's come around the corner, it's extra daunting. And you're just like, no, I'm done. Yeah. So this idea of persistence, like, you learn in endurance running that you have to have endurance. Right. And so, like I said, I'd get out of eyesight. Of course, when I go across the finish line, I would have a lot of energy bottled up because I was like, hey, I've walked 2.9 miles. Yeah. I ran the first 0.1. I've walked 2.9. I can sprint this last 0.1 again. Yeah. And so that's what I would do. I would go booking it. But even if I hit like a 200-meter PR on that last 200 meters, there's no way in the world that I'm going to have a good 5K race, right? Yeah. Because the endurance was not there. Right. And so the importance of going slow and steady, like slow and steady wins the race, is a saying that people say, and it is so true. Right. I remember the first time that I did a race where I ran the full thing without walking once, and I dropped my 5K from over 30 minutes down to 27-minute 5K. Wow. And that was, I think, on I think it was Milan. And so with that, I also lost my shoe that race. Coach loves that story about me. I ran out of my shoe. But so the importance of slow and steady wins the race. No matter how much you start, like you can have a tenacity for something at the beginning of a race, or even in your day-to-day life, because this is going to apply more to your day-to-day life than just running. If you start something with a great tenacity for it, but you burn out,
Right.
you're not going to, don't expect to see anything like fruitful or profitable at the end of it.
Right.
Like if I were to, like I mentioned, I'm in the gym now. And so like if I were to start like back in August when I got in the gym a year ago this month, that I got in the gym and I like would have taken the first like 2 weeks and been like, well, I don't see any growth. I look the same as I did 2 weeks ago. And just stop. You would see that like there's not going to be growth, because
Right.
2 weeks of training does not really build anything. And so, and I remember like even in the gym and in running, I would be training and I would be like, I'm not seeing any change, right? It gets really, really easy to compare yourself to yesterday more than you compare yourself to a year ago. And
Right.
like, if I were to compare myself in the gym today to last week, like I failed some reps this morning and I was like, I guess I'm just weak and I can't do this. But all the weight that I was moving this morning was way more than I would ever move this time last year.
Yeah.
So comparing yourself to a year ago versus a week ago, it's because that's slow and steady. When you have the endurance to stick with something, whether it's running, the gym, reading a book, doing anything, if you have the endurance to stick it out from beginning to end, you can actually accomplish stuff and you can actually see fruits of your labor. But if you start like your first week and like at the end of that week, you're like, I don't see it. And then you just give up and you leave, you get around that first corner and you stop. You're not going to see the growth. You're not going to see you're not going to see the reward. And so when I first realized that was at that race that I ran, when I was like, I started sticking with my training and I realized, hey, I can't just show up at a race, run it, and expect to do well.
Right.
It takes the moments leading up to that, how you eat, how you prepare for it, how you train for it. And I realized like, hey, I got to start putting in the extra miles, right?
Mm-hmm.
I got to start putting in the work. I got to put in the endurance training. And that building that engine, as Coach likes to talk about it, building the engine so that when you get to the race, all you got to do is turn the engine on and run.
Right.
And so building the engine was very much so a crucial thing, and it can apply to everything that you do.
Right.
And so that was kind of one of the things that stuck with me, was when I dropped my race from, I think it was somewhere between 31 and 33, and I dropped it down to like 27 and some change.
Mm-hmm.
And lost a shoe. And that was probably the second best race of my life.
Yeah.
First best only being the one at HXN where I dropped down to V8. The most clutch performance of my life, I'd have to say. And then never did it again. But
I thought that you were dead, to be honest. Like,
I thought I was dead.
under that like trailer.
I crossed the finish line and like barrel rolled into a trailer, and yeah, I thought I was dead too.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I saw Jesus coming down, but those are the two most memorable races, most like sticky moments, and both of those were because training and endurance and sticking with the program.
Right. Yeah, that consistency can really bring out strengths for sure. Yeah, I definitely. That's great stuff. Great stuff. Yeah. I mean, this is going to go hand in hand with this last the question before. Mm-hmm. But like, I always like to ask this question because usually it brings out a funny story or something.
Yeah.
But, what's your favorite race?
Okay. My favorite race. Oh, there's a lot of memorable ones that I've done. Definitely those two that I mentioned before.
Right.
I think those would definitely be like my two and my one. But a few other ones that I can remember vividly.
Some honorable mentions.
Yeah. I remember back when I was still in JV, and I was running at it was TCPS. And so, TCPS's course, very, very hilly. And this one, it was like flash flooding. I feel like maybe I'm dramatizing it because it's JV, but I feel like I was swimming the 2 miles. Yeah. And I came around a corner, and I don't think I had spikes at the time. I think I invested in spikes after this, but I came around the corner and my shoes just lost traction, and I said, shoo, right down the hill. Like, there's a picture of me somewhere. I don't know where it's at, but me at the finish line, and I have mud from my forehead all the way down to my shoes. Like those, I think I ran in white socks, and they were ruined for the rest of like ever. Yeah. But yeah, that one is definitely a good one. And then the race right after I did that 1958, the one that I was doing the 1958 to qualify for, was another muddy race. And where was that one at? In Hattiesburg, I think.
Yeah, the quarry in Hattiesburg.
Yeah, the quarry in Hattiesburg. And that one was like, it was so bad because it wasn't raining during the race, but it had rained like the night before. Yeah. And so like literally running through that race, and like the mud was like this thick, and you would run through, and like you could just see people in front of you, how they had like put big old like craters in the mud from where they'd run. Yeah. And there was one spot on the corner where I was coming around, and I remember coming around it, and I had to like do like little stutter steps to get around the corner because I was like on my toes to make sure my spikes were digging in. I think I had the 1/2-inch spike back on this long. But I remember coming around that corner, and it was like, dude, it was so bad because you couldn't get traction. Yeah. But I think the muddy races, I hated them so much, but they were definitely the ones that I remember probably the most. Right. Those, and then outside of cross country, doing steeplechase at Running Lane. That was another fun one where I raced against Batman himself, and he was. I remember looking up and him like standing up on a steeplechase and like sprawling out his cape and then just jumping in the water, and I was like right behind him, and I just watched it happen. But those were probably some of the most memorable races with some of the most funny stories. But yeah, steeplechase is always like the most fun race to watch. Like at Running Lane this year, I saw there's like a kid, he like got up onto the barrier, but then his trail leg toe got caught on the underside of the barrier. Yeah, and he just went face down. Yeah, into the water right in front of Micah. Yeah, and I was like, asking Micah after that, like, did you see that kid right in front of you? He's like, no. And like stepped over that kid. I was like, Ali, how did you not notice that? He just like spiked like right in front of where the dude was. I know. That could have been a catastrophe. Yeah. It's amazing though. Running Lane's probably one of my favorite meets to go to. Yeah. That one's definitely a memorable one for sure. Shout out Running Lane. Like, dude, they are so, especially like the like mascot race. That one's all them people barreling through, and they added like this year they had, because it's Rocket City Showcase. Yeah. And so they had like the 3 astronauts or whatever with the big old bubble heads. Yeah. And they're running their heads just like bobbling around. It was like, I was hysterical up there watching it. Yeah, it was Running Lane's another good one. I know. Yeah. It's great. It's great. So, there's these times whenever, especially that I've experienced, like there's these moments that you just, you want to quit. Yeah. You say after a race, after a workout, you're like, this is it. There's nothing left here for me to achieve. But you have to have a strong foundation to know why you're doing it and what your goal is, what you want to achieve with it to keep going. What is there, and what is that thing that you were, you had in your mind? I'm not going to give up because I know this. I think probably not going to be the answer you want, but so one thing that kept me, for one, coming back to track practice and back to the track team was the people. Like I thoroughly enjoyed being around the team, especially especially once I was like getting to help lead through being a captain, that was golden. But also leading up to that, the years before, just all the different people, coach who poured into me so much, like that. Even though I didn't see myself as being good at all, I enjoyed encouraging others. And so that was why I was there. And then I was like, well, if I'm here, I need to be decent at least at the sport. I can't just be here and be running, 30-minute 5Ks while in high school. And so that's why, like I mentioned earlier, as far as really starting to put in the training, putting in the work, was because I didn't want to be a laughing stock. And then there was also times like when I started doing better, and I remember people noticing it and commenting on it, encouraging me in that. I remember Jeb Hamilton, one of my years, he was very much so like, he was like, shout out Levi, like just about a few different things, and it stuck with me.
Right.
And so just the importance of like people older than you who are, way better at the sport than you are, when they say something, like it sticks out. You remember
right.
it.
Dude, so like Sam and Jeb were like like there's a lot of things I could contribute, like the same question. Like, yeah, I could say quite a few things, but honestly, Sam and Jeb were the ones that really kept it going, for sure. And so like remembering that, I remember like I wasn't phenomenal at the sport, but I remember this like last year, people like 30 and Henry who like would race side by side me at some of the races, and like I am over here dying, like I'm not good at cross country, and like these little like middle schoolers are catching up to me. And I remember Henry, he was like, no, I'm gonna beat you. And I was like, you better. Like that's what I want. Like, that's the point of this. Like I want y'all to be better than I am. Right. And so like as a captain, my job wasn't to, be the best guy on the team. It was to make the team better, make them better than me. So like they're gonna be here longer than I am. They have the potential to be the next, Sam and Jeb of our teams. Right. And so like seeing that, I was like, I see the potential, so let's pour into it. Mm-hmm. People did that to me so that I kept with it and I trained with it. Right. And I had that like that fervor to do it. And so when I saw the opportunity to do the same thing and pour it back, like the team had poured into me, so now I can pour back into the team kind of situation. Like that right there is what stuck with me. And so it kind of seemed like a full cycle. And so that was why I stuck with it, and that was the same reason why I pushed for others to stick with it, because I can see the potential. Right. And so I just like encouragement is always something that I love to see other people pour into each other. It's what builds a team. And so like people did it for me, so I stuck with it. And so then after that was with the reason like why I poured back into the team so much. Right. Yeah, that's great. That's great. Yeah, it's usually, it's somebody, encouraging you. But the big thing is like you said, you gotta, it's great to have that encouragement, but you gotta give it back. You gotta pass it on to someone else. If you're not doing that, then you're not really helping others. Exactly. And so, just that continual chain is what makes a team work. Exactly. And I mean, if you think about it like this way, like ultimately everybody at some point has to graduate. They can't be on the team for forever. Yeah. Like as sad as it is, like I would love to have 4 more seasons with the team, but sadly, life happens. I'm graduating, which I'm excited to graduate. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to do high school. And I'm going to college, and but it's just, you can't be there for forever, but you can leave a little bit of a legacy when you have to leave. Right. And so when you pour into them, and you pour into them the same way that you were poured into, right, so that they then can remember that and pour into the next generation. Right. And so that constant encouragement overflow of one person's cup being filled up and then pouring into the next. Right. And that's what, like you said, what makes the team work. Right.
And so that's what builds that community and what pushes it forward.
Right. Because if you're selfish with the encouragement, then you're not going to see any improvement throughout the team.
Like if you, like you said, you got poured into so much by Sam and Jeb, and like
Right.
you are a phenomenal runner. And like if you'd have just taken that and been like, okay, cool, I'm good.
Yeah.
Sucks to be everybody else, and just kept it. Like, for one, you'd have been a terrible captain.
Yeah.
For two, like, I don't think our team would have done as well if it wasn't for people pouring in. Because like if Jeb and Sam would have just kept what they were and not poured into the next people, like if they would have not poured into me and you for us to then pour into the next people, like that would have just been the end of it.
Right.
They would have graduated. Our team would have went like would have been gone.
Right.
And so like that generational pouring into the next people, like it's so crucial for a team, and it's really beautiful to see how it works.
I know, it's amazing. Just that's how it's supposed to be, clearly.
Yeah.
And I love it.
Yeah,
love it. We have running presents challenges.
Yeah,
and you think about like things, your muscles, just for an example, the more you strain them, as they heal, they get bigger, stronger.
Yeah.
So the same thing in your life, as you are presented with challenges and you work through them, then you know how to work through other challenges further down the road.
Yeah.
So you're being strengthened by things. Running presents unique obstacles.
Correct. Yeah.
And so I want to know, is there, and if so, what did you learn from running that you can apply to your life? How did running help you in your day-to-day life?
I think probably the biggest thing was probably that I mentioned earlier. As far as like the consistency is key, like going the extra mile, like the whole point of this. Shout out extra mile. But as that applies to your day-to-day life and other things, and I mean, this is, extra mile, what's that based out of? Talking about, as far as like in the Bible, it talks about going the extra mile.
Right.
If a soldier asks you to carry his bag. And so like going above and beyond in everything is something that has stuck with me. And I think a lot of that came from my training in running, and now my training in lifting. I think that's a very crucial thing, and like it applies to so much you do. It applies to your day-to-day life, how you live a life as a Christian. I mean, literally, that's what this is pulled from.
Right.
Jesus telling the disciples, or it's telling the group to like carry the bag the extra mile, to serve and do everything above and beyond, not just I was asked to do this, let me just stop there.
Right.
But when you go above and beyond, you get noticed, for one. And I don't mean that in like a boastful, like, oh, I got noticed, but in like you get, like people can see your heart for things when you go above and beyond.
Right.
And when you go above and beyond, you get better at those things, for one. I mean, with training, it's a very easy example. If I were to just do, 4 reps of a track workout or of a lift and stop there, I'm not going to have as much growth as if I were to go, 8 reps or so.
Right.
But also with that, you can also get burnt out, both physically, spiritually, emotionally, like all the different like realms of your life.
Right.
If you do so much, then you can get burnt out. So it's also important to rest and everything. And I think that I'm gonna get like really spiritual or whatever, but like God calls us to rest. Like we're beings made to rest. And when we don't, it takes a toll on our day-to-day lives. And so it's very important to be the way that we're designed to be, which is to work when it's time to work.
Right.
And to put in the time and effort and do things to the best of our ability. But then when it's time to rest,
Right.
and to not just be like, well, I gotta train. Because if I were to train, if I were to run a long run the day before like my race,
Yeah.
I'm training way too much. The next day I'm going to go to race and I'm not going to be able to do well.
Right.
Versus if I rest when it's time to rest, then that's going to pour in. It's going to allow me to recover, allow me to do well the next time I do it. And so when that applies to the importance of rest days as far as the gym, it applies to the importance of rest days as far as day-to-day life. If I'm trying to, maybe school, for an example, I'm trying to do work, gain knowledge, and I'm going. Eventually your head needs rest. Like there's everything that you, like every part of your being at some point needs rest.
Right.
And so that's probably the importance of when it's time to do it to the best of your ability for His glory, for God's glory.
Right.
But then when it's time to rest,
Mm-hmm.
and rest means rest.
Mm-hmm.
And like, don't try and be like, well, but I've got so much other things. But if you try to do all those other things right now when you need to be resting, all those other things are going to get harder. For one, you're not going to be able to do them well. You're not going to be able to do them to the best of your ability because you're not your best self right now because you need rest. And it's not going to function the way it's supposed to function.
Right.
So doing it to the best of your ability when it's time for the best of your ability, but also when it's time to rest.
Right.
And that applies running, lifting, life in general. And that's probably something that I learned, probably one of the biggest things that I've learned as far as with my running career and now my lifting career, just my physical journey and how that applies to my day-to-day life.
Yeah, that's great. That's exactly what I was, looking for. Yeah, exactly. It's
Pick apart my brain real quick.
It's like, just there are things that strengthen us, and I just, I really enjoy figuring out what that is.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for watching the Extra Mile podcast. This podcast is brought to you by me and many others who work hard to get it edited and out to the public. If you have any questions, comments, or anyone you would like to see on the podcast, you can email me at theextramilepodcast08@gmail.com. Thank you again very much. I'll see you next time. Hello everyone. It is about a month after me and Levi recorded this podcast episode, and I'm just now finished editing it and going through the footage, and I see that we just started singing at one point and then started talking about like Nickelodeon shows, I think. And so I'm gonna throw this in at the end, and so be warned, if you don't want to hear singing, then you should probably click off now. But if you do want to hear singing, then I would have a hand on the volume knob to turn it down whenever I start singing directly into the microphone. But besides that, hope you enjoy. That whatever I was talking about, I forgot.
Forgot the questions. Should been down on Sunday morning, shaking my head. Sunday morning, man, she woke up, got mad. Just on Creed. Can you take me higher? That's it. Maybe 6 feet. Hey, so far down. I'll be sure to include that at the start of the podcast. Sure. I was singing. our singing. So, gosh.
That should come out.
Oh, man. Lord have mercy. It's okay. One day you'll grow up.
Let's go lower my volume.
Just talk around like this. The second half of the podcast, for like, hey y'all, how y'all doing? Yeah. So my name is Johnny Cash. I'd like to sing you a song I wrote.
Ow.
A little water droplet. Bubble, 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 guppy, guppy, guppy. Did you watch that when you were a kid?
No.
Oh gosh, you're missing out. It was on Nickelodeon, I think, Nick Jr. It was like I don't know, it was like a mermaid school or whatever, and
Oh yes,
it was like a big old guppy. And it was a big old like orange fish. I don't remember his name, but he like he like taught the school or whatever and had like life lessons or something. I don't know.
That's
I just remember the theme song, to be honest. But
yeah. There's so many shows that I could like go over.
Yeah.
And like just remember like almost every scene.
yeah, I remember you mentioned something. I'm like, dude, what are you talking? Like you talking about the Wiggles the other day? I was like, dude, I have
Yeah,
don't know the Wiggles at all. I know people like so many people talk about it, and I'm like, what the heck is the Wiggles?
yeah.
But
It is what it is. Also, what is another one? Bob the Builder was pretty great.
oh yeah, Bob the Builder. Bob the Builder.
Can he fix it? Yes, he can.
Yeah, so Bob the Builder.
So going off of Bob the Builder,
Back into the podcast.